Hello friends, it's Tanya from Tinkering and Ink with Tanya, and I'm here to show you how I use these blends that I created. And I thought I'd give you a sneak peek or a little quick look at how I'm storing my Distress Oxide ink sponges. I just have these pieces of cardstock that I have used Velcro dots to adhere all of them to. And we're going to use one of the blends I made one morning after I had finished a long stretch of work. I just needed a creative outlet, and this was it. Playing with colors is kind of my thing. I really love it. Even when I'm not feeling particularly inspired, playing with colors is something that I enjoy to do. I made, I think, 21 different blends that morning. And I did manage to use every single color at least once. This time we're using, that was Seedless Preserves. This is Victorian Velvet. And then the other color is Milled Lavender. And those don't look like colors you'd automatically would think would make a nice blend, but they really do. They do take a little work to get to blend, and you're going to get a different, it's going to look a little different every single time. This particular blend makes me think of ephemeral things like unicorns and fairies and misty clouded hills and skies. So that's where I'm headed with this particular one. I just keep layering the ink on and until I get the soft look that I want. I'm currently hiding in my bedroom to record this. My grandson's here, and he's 5 years old, and he is full of beans, I tell you, full of beans. And it may be summer, but it's 60 degrees outside today, which is a bit chilly, and it's kind of damp. So he doesn't want to play outside right now. He wants to use his grandparents as jungle gyms. He came over, it is Saturday morning right now, and he came over Thursday night, and he has kept us all quite busy. They do that, don't they? I remember when I had 4 little kids at home, it was never quiet in my house. And now just one child is about half the volume as the 4 children, but I don't know. Maybe it's like childbirth and we don't remember. So back to the card. Here I spattered the panel with water and heat set that. And now I'm using some iridescent watercolor ink from Hero Arts. That I believe you can buy that individually now. But it came in one of the My Monthly Hero kits from a while back. And I'm going to dilute that with a little more water and spatter that on the panel. Sorry about the throat clearing. You have no idea how many times I have to stop and restart my recordings because I cough so stinking much. I apologize. I covered the ink pads with my paper a little bit because I didn't think I needed iridescent iridescent watercolor on there. However, it looks gorgeous on those panels. So one way to avoid getting extra ink all over my fingers is to use my fiber cloth, microfiber cloth, to help pull those pads off of the handles, because I don't have enough for every single sponge, nor do I want that many. That's a lot of space. Takes up a lot of space. I think I have 8 handles, and that's probably 2 more than I really need. Moving on, now that I have the sponges put away, I used a Concord 9th matching die and stamp set to make the rest of this card. I'd taken a couple cuttings of the cloud edge die and trimmed those down, and I just kind of put them together the way I liked, holding them together with washi tape. And now I'm going to cut the whole thing out with one of these Spellbinders. I believe it's scored and pierced rectangles. And this is the largest one from that set. So I'm going to take them out of that die. and assemble this part before I move on to the rest of the card. I hope you can't hear my grandson crying. He's having a little bit of a fit. He doesn't like to hear the word no. What little kid does? Who am I kidding? What adult does? We don't like to hear the word no. So now I'm going to use some coasters to help pop that up. Just going to die cut those with the same edge and then trim them down and adhere them. I've really been enjoying this Ultra Bond glue from Thermabond. I got it about 2 months ago, a month and a half, and I've been using it a lot. It's, I just love it. It makes everything stick to each other. However, I get it on my fingers. I don't mind adhesive on my hands. That's not a big deal. But with this particular project, I was getting fingerprints all over the place. You'll see me working on that later, trying to fix that. So I end up with 2 layers of coaster. I love using coaster. A, you can die cut it. B, it's recyclable. And C, it adds such great stability to your card. And they're very lightweight. I do have a box of 1,000 of them that I picked up a couple years ago. But you can pick them up when you're out to eat. They put them on your table. You can certainly take those home. They're usually a promotional product. And you can trim them as small or as large as you want. So I've almost got this completed. I'm just going to, because I did cut that all out at once, we should be able to just adhere that. Oh, here I am trying to get some of the marks from my fingers off. That's one of the tricks. You can use a white eraser because it doesn't leave the, somehow the pink, sometimes the pink erasers leave a little residue, colored residue on the paper, and the white one will not do that as long as you use a clean spot on the eraser. So I'm going to adhere some coaster to the back. I trimmed a 4-inch square coaster down. I believe this is like 3 3/4. The coaster is trimmed to 3 3/4. And then I think I have to trim this last 1-inch segment down a little bit. I have also been taping 2 coasters together using the big die that I'm going to use as the panel on the front. Die cutting that so it's exactly the same size as our panel. So here is Unicorn Awesomeness. That is the stamp set and dies from Concord 9th that we're using. And we're going to use the Misty and some Memento black ink because I'm going to use Copic color or Copic markers to color these in. I think I need to ink this a couple times. Yeah. I find myself using the Copic markers more and more. They are just such a fast and easy way to add color to our projects. Yep, I missed a little bit on the tail, so I'm going to add a little more with my Misty. That is super easy to do. Man, I sound a little distracted. I'm also waiting for our number 3 child to call us back and let us know about a vehicle that they're hoping to purchase that we're going to help them out with. My number 3 child, Dakota, married a lady with 4 kids, so he's 27, and is now the father of a 15, a 12, an 8, and a 7-year-old. That's a lot of kiddos to haul around. And they're down to 1 minivan and a Harley. Somehow that just doesn't seem to work out so well. So we're going to help them out getting a vehicle that seats at least 6, and they are looking at one today. So hopefully I'll be getting a call soon saying, hey mom, come look at the car and decide if this is the one we're all ready to go for. Now, his 2 little girls, the 13 and the 8-year-old, both love everything to do with unicorns and kittens and cute, fluffy, girly stuff, and yet they both have that wild girl edge. Isabel more so than Sophia. So this card really might end up going to one of them for their birthdays. Isabel had a unicorn rainbow cake for her last birthday. That's the one that just turned 13. Yeah, I can't believe at the ripe old age of 47, I am the grandmother of a 15-year-old. Yes, I started having my children young, but dang. All right, so hey, you may have noticed that I figured out how to put titles on here. So now I have the Copic color markers, Copic marker color names. There we go on the screen, so you can do the color combos that I'm doing also without having to go down to the description box to see which ones I used. I got a little sloppy with my coloring, maybe because I hadn't had breakfast. I was trying to sneak this in before my grandson woke up. My oldest son, who is the father of the grandson that is here today, his wife is in Spain. She's a Spanish teacher in the town that they work in, and she's going to school for her master's. And as part of her program, she is going abroad to study for, I think it's 3 weeks. She'll be gone for a month. She left about a week ago to Spain. I know, brokenhearted, right? So pretty much every weekend that my son has off, he comes to our house. Well, they do that anyway, most summers. We're kind of like the cabin without the lake. There are 7 lakes within 5 minutes of my home. And we have a big house and a big yard. I wouldn't say it's a fancy house, but we have a big house and a big yard. And it's safe for the kids to go tear around in the yard. So they come and hang out with us most weekends. Anyway, they came Thursday night. It's Saturday morning. So I don't get much quiet time to do this stuff when they're around. None of my kids were quiet either, so not a surprise. And I do love having them. Anytime I talk about them being little rowdy rugrats, it is not in complaint. It is just a statement of fact. And we all value those moments with our grandkids. And the fact that he is comfortable enough to be his naughty self is a good thing. I want him to be so comfortable with his grandparents that he acts like his true self. Yep. So now I am adding some shiny hooves. I'm using a Sakura Jelly Pen Stardust. I think it's a silver Stardust jelly roll. That's a whole lot of words for a marker. And then this is some clear Winka Stella. Although I realized, this is one of the empty ones that I've been saving. You know, if you add a little water to those, they make a nice water pen. And they do have some shimmer. This one is a really juicy, shimmery one. While I'm doing this, I'm thinking, wow, maybe I overdid it. Maybe I shouldn't have done so much Winka Stella. But in the end, it turned out pretty awesome. Looking at the card right now, there's lots of shimmer. Everything's smoothed out. Looks pretty good. Helps hide some of the oopses too, because I had some of those. So I started to say, I hadn't even had my breakfast yet when I started making this. So, therefore, I was not as careful. I swear, I get a little low blood sugar and I get the dropsies and I get a little clumsy. But that doesn't stop me. I just keep going. until I'm done with the task I'm working on, and then I go finally eat. Anybody else like that? So there is the die cut unicorn, and then I think I'd already cleaned up the mistakes with the Signo white gel pen. Yep, and now I'm going to, now that it's good and dry, use a really fine tip black marker and add some boldness back to the nostril and the eyelashes for our little unicorn. Here I am again using the coasters to die cut the die cut the shape so I can pop that up above the clouds there. So I'm going to take a pencil and mark the coaster where I need to trim off so that this will fit flush with the clouds. I like to mention, but there is such a thing as too much. 2 layers of coasters, about the same as the regular 3M foam tape. So it's nice and thin. That's another reason I really like coasters. They're thinner than the foam tape. It adds the dimension without a lot of extra bulk. It's easier to mail these. So I'm ultimately going to need 2 layers because, as you remember, I used 2 layers of coaster on the clouds. So I'm going to cut another one, and then I'll just flip that over and trim those off about the same as the previous coaster. And you know how liquid glue can warp your paper sometimes? Well, when you're using it paper to coaster, the coaster absorbs the extra moisture and you don't get those funny liquid adhesive marks on your cardstock, which is a huge bonus, especially when you need a little wiggle room, because liquid glue does give you a little wiggle time. More adhesive all over the back of that coaster layer and on the feet and the tip of the tail, and now we'll just slide that back down. I let the edge of the coasters hit the cloud under the tail first. So I'm going to weight that down and wait for a minute or 2. And you'll see me tapping the bottle and then squeezing it to make sure that the nozzle is clear. That's how I've been keeping from getting clogged. I laid the stamp set down over the card panel to figure out where or which sentiment I could use there. And I do really like the happy birthday one there. And I haven't used it before, I don't think. So here I am, since I pretty much don't want to screw it up. I only get 1 shot. I was going to use the Misty, but decided not to since I had all those layers. And with the Distress Oxides underneath it, you can't really see it, I think, in the video, but in real life, it wasn't a good, crisp, solid image. The ink was kind of bleeding through the Distressed Oxides. So I carefully lined that back up and crossed all my fingers and toes, metaphorically, hoping I wouldn't screw it up at this point, and stamped it a second time with the VersaFine Onyx Black. And that did actually work out quite well. So now I'm still fretting about all of the marks that I got on there from the adhesive on my fingers and the ink on my fingers. So I'm using the white eraser to try and get rid of those. And then I dig out my old sanding block. I've had this in a drawer for ages. Just going to try to sand. There's some adhesive stuck on that corner and a mark on that cloud that's bugging me. And I'm getting it for the most part. I did go back after I finished filming the video and sand a little more just to get rid of the marks that were bothering me so much. On the side of my desk there, I have a stack of 110-pound Neenah Solar White cardstock that I have cut down to cardstock size and scored down the middle. I grab one of those quick and do a good crease on the score line, and we'll adhere this to the card panel also. Now here I am adding some pressure to the card base. I should have just put my giant block over it, And of course, clearing the nozzle of my glue at the same time. Multitasking, it's what we do. And then I smeared the happy birthday. Yep, lots of opportunities for embellishment on this one. So now I'm going to use some silver-backed crystals from Studio Katia. And we're just, oh, yep, cleaning up more of my smudges. And then, silly me, thinking that that is completely dry. It's not. I smeared the sentiment. Well, you know, more dots of glue. Here we come. So I'm just using that Ultra Bond, and I kid you not, I use this for everything now. It sticks to everything, and it actually sets pretty fast. This is my pickup stick. I've had this for a long time too. I think it's a silhouette one that came with my Cameo. Just adding some jewels, and I'm not a big jewel person because they stick up pretty far on the card. However, with all those layers of cards or of chipboard, coaster board, I feel like there's enough going on this card that they aren't sticking way out. And they're helping disguise my smudges. Let's see. Yep, I think that's the last one. Now we need to move to the inside of the card. Look at that sparkle. I actually am not regretting those jewels at all. Yep, even the one on the happy birthday sentiment. It's cool. I like it. So, yes, I have a Misty. I also have the Stampin' Up! Stamparatus, which, man, I love that thing. That is one of the best tools. It takes all the positives of the Misty and adds a few more. One of them being that it's got two open sides. So you don't have to have multiple sizes of Misties or stamp positioners. You just have the one because it isn't limited. I believe it's like 8 by 8. So even if you had a scrapbook page that's 12 by 12, you would be able to use it. I don't sell Stampin' Up! Anymore, but I do love this particular product. This is one of the things that I will never get rid of, and have actually contemplated having more than one so I can keep one at my daughter's house too. Love this thing. Anyway, the reason I used it this time is because I have a regular size Misty and I wanted to be able to turn this so it was, I just wanted to be able to use the one that had no sides so I could stick the card in there open. I'm coming in with now Distress Oxides. I hadn't used much. I had like 12 or 13 of the colors before my boxes came in. But I didn't realize how well they actually stamp your images. You don't have to just use them for techniques. You can actually use them for stamping. I love that. Love it. Why we always see more shiny new things. So that was it. That was the last of it. Do me a favor, click subscribe if you haven't done that. Check out my blog. And if you make a creation with this blend, be sure to tag it with Tanya's Blends. See you next time. Bye-bye.